Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargav. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. India has witnessed a spate of huge frauds, failures, scams, and collapses in the banking and finance industry during the past few years. We have witnessed failures in the segment across the board. We therefore saw failures and collapses of banks, NBFCs, and cooperative banks. We witnessed bankruptcies in many public sector banks such that they had to be put in prompt corrective action in order to nurse them back to health. We witnessed IDBI Bank going bankrupt only to be bailed out by the LIC at a price tag of 55,000 crores. Yes Bank had to be bailed out due to the frauds committed by Rana Kapoor. ICICI Bank witnessed accounting irregularities and corruption under the watch of Chanda Kochar. Axis Bank also had accounting irregularities, and we witnessed collapse of the likes of ILFS, DHFL, and the PMC Bank. One common element in all these failures has been RBI as the regulator of all of them. All these scams, all these failures have truly occurred during the watch of RBI as the regulator, and therefore, to that extent, RBI does share the blame for negligence, for incompetence, for taking action too late very often. We witness RBI's actions, RBI's corrective measures to be late, and the common observation that has come every time after a new scam or a collapse broke out was that if the RBI had acted on time as a regulator, then this kind of a blatant and big fraud or financial irregularity would not have taken place. There are very obvious pointers to ask in this. Why did the RBI not take action against Chanda Kochar when in 2016 itself it was clear that there had been accounting irregularities and corruption committed by her? Why did the RBI not take action against Rana Kapoor in 2017 itself when it was clear that he had indulged in a lot of irregularities and wrong loans given by Yes Bank as its CEO? And why did the Reserve Bank not interfere immediately in 2017-18 itself when it was known to the Reserve Bank that the PMC Bank is being fraudulently managed and money is being siphoned off? That's the reason why the RBI gets its own share of blame in all these frauds and failures that have taken place. In India, on theory or in law, the Reserve Bank of India as the regulator is meant to be independent and autonomous and is meant to be a body where there cannot be interference. But reality is far from this situation. The fact is that there is immense interference in RBI's functioning as a regulator, and that comes from the Neta, that comes from the Babu. And because of that, what we are witnessing in practical reality is that RBI may be the sole supreme regulator, but its powers have been diluted, and in a number of cases, in sectors like cooperative banks, for example, the Reserve Bank anyway has what is called dual supervision or dual authority, wherein it does not have total powers to act. Therefore, what we witness is that the Reserve Bank of India may be independent, may be the sole regulator, may be meant to be autonomous, but that does not translate into practical reality. Take the case of public sector banks, whose regulator is supposed to be the Reserve Bank of India, but their owner is the Government of India. The Reserve Bank of India has got eroded regulatory powers according to us here because the RBI does not need to give its approval for the appointment of the top executives of public sector banks, and neither can the Reserve Bank of India dismiss any of them in case they are found to be delinquent and indulging in all kinds of misdeeds. The government thus appoints its own nominees through whom the government and the Babu has been meddling in the public sector banks. The Reserve Bank may be the sole regulator, but the de facto regulator here actually becomes the Ministry of Finance, Government of India. Or take the case of organizations like ICICI Bank, ILFS, Yes Bank, and their powerful CEOs. Obviously, they had godfathers in the system high up in the hierarchy in Delhi, and those godfathers protected the CEOs of these banks and organizations, whether it's the likes of Chanda Kochar, Rana Kapoor, or Ravi Parthasarathy, from all the misdeeds that they did. Even if the Reserve Bank came to know of their misdeeds, it was restrained by these powerful godfathers from taking their actions. Yet another case which says that Reserve Bank's powers have been handicapped. The worst has been the case of cooperative banks. Cooperative banks fall under what is called a domain where the state and the center both regulate it. The Reserve Bank of India is one authority which only looks into the banking operations of the cooperative banks. On the other hand, the ownership and management of state cooperative banks or cooperative banks comes under the domain of the Registrar of Cooperative Societies in the respective states, and that registrar is a political appointee. Most of the cooperative banks in the country are owned by netas, by very powerful netas, and these netas treat these cooperative banks as their own personal kitties. There is immense financial irregularities and giant shocking frauds that take place. But then, with this dual regularity, wherein the Reserve Bank has limited powers and the Register of Cooperative Societies has the main power in terms of regulating ownership and management of these organizations, what we witness is that frauds continue to fester. These banks witness huge amount of taking away, siphoning of money of these banks by the neta concerned, and no action gets taken. These organizations have virtually no governance and they are loaded with frauds, financial irregularities. The state of affairs is actually rotten. Take the case of the Mumbai District Central Cooperative Bank. It is reported to have frauds and irregularities to the extent of 25,000 crores. The Mumbai police has also filed an FIR against its directors, and one of the named accused is supposed to be Mr. Ajit Pawar, the present Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra. How do you expect any action to be taken in this case by the main regulator, which is the Registrar of Cooperative Societies? Therefore, urban cooperative banks needed to be governed by one sole regulator, and perhaps with the PMC Bank case on the horizon and the recent failures of the CKP Cooperative Bank and the MAPSA Urban Cooperative Bank that took place, both of which are under liquidation, the government has come up with an ordinance. The government has come up with an ordinance such that the Reserve Bank of India has now been made the sole regulator of urban cooperative banks and multi-state cooperative banks in the country. That was much needed. There are 1,540 such banks in the country, and they hold deposits to the tune of 4.8 lakh crores belonging to 86 million depositors, most of whom are common men. These banks, urban cooperative banks, have been witnessing one failure a month. That's the kind of failures that are taking place, and depositor money gets lost. Bearing this in mind, the government has come up with an ordinance doing away with the dual control on cooperative banks, with the Reserve Bank of India being made the sole controller, the sole regulator, and now it's a Reserve Bank which is supposed to regulate them. The government has issued this ordinance in order to protect the interests of the depositors and to improve the management and governance of urban cooperative banks in the country. But if the likes of Mr. Prakash Javadekar claim and believe that merely by appointing Reserve Bank as a sole regulator, it will all be hunky-dory for cooperative banks and interests of depositors will be protected and their deposits will be safe, then they are sadly mistaken. It will take time before this entire empowerment of RBI to govern urban cooperative banks takes effect, and that largely depends on the government according to us. What are the issues here? What is the larger picture here? The first, according to us, is that the Reserve Bank of India is already a burdened and stressed organization. It has been recently empowered to govern and regulate housing finance sector in the country. It already is burdened with regulating the NBFCs in a more extensive and larger way in order to prevent more collapses, and it is already grappling with regulating 12 public sector banks, 22 private sector banks, and 44 foreign banks. Does it really have the resources? Does it have the manpower? Does it have the reach? Does it have the skill set to regulate and control another 1,540 urban banks spread all over the country? Is something to be looked in. The second issue is that whether the Reserve Bank succeeds and performs well or not is largely dependent on the government. If the government continues to meddle in the powers of the Reserve Bank, if the government and its netas continue to thwart Reserve Bank from acting against those cooperative banks which have been erring and indulging in malpractices, then this ordinance will prove to be fruitless. Therefore, It all depends on how does the government behave itself when it is seeking to empower the Reserve Bank of India. Related to that is, will the government give the Reserve Bank a free hand or will it interfere and supersede its decisions? In 2013-14, it was found by the Reserve Bank, for example, that there were 23 unlicensed cooperative banks in the country carrying on banking business. They had deposits over 3,000 crores and they had no license or authority to even function as a bank. The Reserve Bank wanted those banks to be punished and taken to task. And surprisingly, when the NDA came to power in November 2014, it actually regularized all these illegal banking organizations. It therefore depends to what extent the Reserve Bank's powers will prevail, because if they don't prevail, any empowerment will certainly not work. If the government continues to meddle and the Reserve Bank's powers are diluted and eroded, then in our opinion, the Reserve Bank is now going to be made a scapegoat. It will be blamed for any cooperative bank that fails or collapses in the country, for the simple reason that it is now the single regulator. Therefore, in our opinion, it is a good move, but it all depends on how the government behaves itself. And finally, if we really want to improve the state of affairs of cooperative banks in the country, then apart from empowering Reserve Bank in this manner, we need to discipline all those directors, all those promoters, all those netas, all those auditors, because of whom collectively this sector has faced the kind of crisis that we see. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
हमारे घरों में भी बच्चे होते हैं जो हमसे प्यार दुलार की आस करते हैं।
हमारा भी जीवन साथी है जिसको हमारे ड्यूटी से घर आने का इंतजार होता है।
हमारे घर में भी एक बूढ़ी माँ है जिनके लिए आज भी हम ही आंखों के तारे हैं।
लेकिन हम हमारे घरों में नहीं हैं। आपकी सुरक्षा में कोई कसर न रहे, इसलिए हम अपने प्रियजनों से दूर हैं।
हम में से ही कुछ तो अब इतने दूर जा चुके हैं कि वो वापस अपने घरों को लौट भी नहीं पाएंगे।
हमें गर्व है कि हमारे कंधों पे मुंबई शहर के नागरिकों की सुरक्षा की जिम्मेदारी है। हमारे जज्बे और बलिदान को व्यर्थ न जाने दे। इस संकट के समय में आप घर पे रहे, सुरक्षित रहे।
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.